Welcome to the Nerd Party.
Hello, everybody at home, and welcome to Houselights, House of Reynolds, Kevin Reynolds, and today we are talking about 1995's Waterworld, which was widely reported to be one of the biggest financial box office flops of all time, and that is actually a misnomer, thankfully. And it took some time, it took some doing, but this movie did make money. Not a lot of money, but it did make its budget back, and then a little sum on top.
A little sum on top.
Just enough to skim for Hollywood to skim off the top.
Yeah. Well, yeah. The wonderful tax write-down that Waterworld was, and everybody that sat there and for years were like, they said this was the biggest financial box office bomb, and then 20 years later, Disney says, "Hold my beer," and they release a slate that just takes a bath. Good for them. Good for them.
Well, folks of you who are listening, I am your co-host Tristan Riddell, and the voice that you heard was none other than John Mills, aka Kessel Junkie, and also joining us is Darren Moser, the one and only Dr. Sci-Fi. Now, this is I'm leading tonight, and I just want to say that I have huge, thick Coke bottle sized nostalgia filter glasses.
Like that old guy with the ones that's made up of other people's nostalgia glasses that has been cobbled
absolutely.
together over his face.
Cobbled together for years, put together, soldered together in between from two different, glasses. Yeah, that's me when looking at this film. So I've seen this tons of times. I have a lot of emotional connection to it. But I want to know when you guys first saw this, but I'm going to get my story out of the way real quick. There's really no big story with me. It was really just my dad. I don't know if he and my mom saw it in the movie theater or not, but he got it on VHS, brought it home, watched it, loved it, and said, "Tristan, you gotta watch this." And he fast forward a few, a few throat cuts and a few butts, and then that was great. And we watched it all the time on VHS. We just watched, like, that was a favorite, that was a go-to for ours, was to watch Waterworld together. And then when ABC came out with a TV version that added 40 minutes, like almost 40 minutes to it. Like, we didn't know that when watching it on TV. Like, we just thought, oh, Waterworld's on, let's watch it. And then all of a sudden we're like, wait a second, we have this movie memorized. We've never seen that scene before. How on earth does he have a CD player? But yes, so like we were absolutely stoked, and I was so excited when in 2019 they came out with an official release of the Ulysses cut, which is based off of the TV cut, but just with unedited stuff put in. So, like, when you make it for TV, you got to cut for violence and sexuality and things like that. So that's what the Ulysses cut basically is the TV cut, but unedited, uncensored, and everything like that. So this is much closer to Kevin Reynolds' vision, or I should say Kevin Costner's vision, because Reynolds actually walked off set on this.
It's Kevin's vision. Just don't say which Kevin. Just Kevin.
Yeah.
And so
Kevin.
yeah, and I've loved the TV cut. I've loved the Ulysses cut. That's what we're talking about tonight. So, John, when was the first time you saw this movie, the theatrical cut? When was the first time you saw the Ulysses cut?
Well, the first time I saw the Ulysses cut was for this. Theatrical cut I saw in the movie theater. There wasn't any way you were going to keep. I've often talked about, a lot of my friends, they'd go out, they'd have fun, they'd go to parties, they'd do all that sort of stuff, but going to the movies was much cheaper. So I would just go to the movies all the time. And all of the hype behind this, I used to read, like Premiere Magazine and stuff like that. And I would just straight up, I was so stoked to see it because I said, okay, if it's this big a disaster, I wish to be a witness to this. I want to be able to see, I saw the biggest box office bomb of all time. So I saw it, and I know the theater I saw it in. I know the people that would have been with me, my friend Joey, who gets mentioned all the time here. He and I would have gone to see this together. And I don't I don't have the same nostalgia glasses that you do, Tristan. Let's just put it that way. But at the same time, without tipping my hand about Ulysses Cut, I can say that not just myself, but my friends, as we walked out of the theater, if there had not been the hype about all of the problems behind the scenes, we walked out and we were like, that's all right. Like, we didn't hate it. We didn't love it. We were just like, yeah, it's okay. Like, it was nothing we were talking about, but we weren't mad
Yeah.
that we spent the money on it.
I think that's the thing, is like the producers, of course, blamed the movie's financial woes after the fact, after like during distribution, on the bad press, because even before the movie was finished, there was all these articles, all these TV stories about how there's trouble in paradise and Hawaii film set goes awry, and like, because they had a crazy amount of problems. I mean, they had what was it? It was $100 million budget that ballooned to 175, then to 230, and in 1995 a $230 million film. That's insane. That is
Oh, yeah.
Even today, if a movie is 230, we're like, what are you doing with that money? And so
yeah.
so like
Mhm.
it was all blamed on bad press, where they're just like, oh well, people aren't seeing it because they think it's going to be crap. And like you said, John, like some people liked it, but most people are just like, it's fine.
Yes. But to speak to the bad press, I was really thinking about this. And, we talked about Prince of Thieves, and we talked about how Prince of Thieves, it was a financial success. We may have our criticisms of it, but people enjoyed it well enough. So Costner is coming off of Dances with Wolves, Prince of Thieves, JFK. He's a heavy hitter, and this is viewed as Kevin Costner's big blank check dream project that he can come in on. I know he didn't write it. I know this isn't his dream project or anything like that. But basically, people are waiting for the fall. People were just waiting for it. And frankly, if he's having problems like that with Kevin Reynolds, I guarantee you he's not making a lot of friends in Hollywood as he's going through these productions. And I mean, the thing that I kept thinking of watching this was Battlefield Earth. People were just waiting for Travolta to screw up. And as soon as people heard the onset stories from that, they were like, oh yeah, here it comes.
Yeah, it was the schadenfreude from somebody being at the peak of their career. I mean, with Travolta, it was very much a comeback story. Like when he, like post Pulp Fiction, because
Yep.
of course, Saturday Night Fever and everything like that, and Grease. But after that, Pulp Fiction kind of revitalized career. But then by the time Battlefield Earth came around, yeah, everybody was looking for an excuse to knock him down a peg. And yeah, you're absolutely right with Kevin Costner, and also he was going through a wicked divorce during this time, and this was supposed to be, I think, a 90-day filming, and it went up to 157. And he did, like, he was there for every single day, 157 days, 6 days a week. So he had one day off for those 100, like per week for those 157 days. And he was going through a divorce, and he invested $22 million of his own money into it.
Oof.
And he was having creative differences with the director, and the director who walked off. You're just like, oh yeah, no wonder the Mariner comes off as like a huge asshole.
Yeah. He's working out some stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So Darren, how about you? When was the first time you saw the theatrical and then the Ulysses cut?
Well, yeah, just like John, the Ulysses would have been this last weekend, carving out 3 hours of my life to sit down and watch Waterworld. But yeah, as I'd mentioned, I've probably seen the stunt show more than I've seen the actual movie at Universal Studios Hollywood, which, eventually I'll have watched probably the stunt show enough to have more minutes of that than the actual theatrical. But theatrical would have been another blockbuster rental. It's 95, so I wouldn't have been seeing this in theaters at that time. That was like, I would go see Toy Story in 95. That's probably what I was watching, not Waterworld. But it's, again, another one of those, I think it might have just been the cover, just that intriguing cover of Costner's face and Waterworld. I lived in the sci-fi fantasy, section of Blockbuster, because they always combine those two because there was never enough. And I'm like, they're not the same. But why do you put them in the same banner? It's like, young Darren had problems with that, but no, but I'd probably only seen the theatrical once or twice. It is not. I do not have those cobbled together nostalgia glasses, and so rewatching it with the Ulysses, it was almost like watching it for the first time, because I more remember the main players because of the stunt show and seeing that recently than actually remembering the plot. Like, I'm like, I know there's a Tolls, and I know there's the Deacon and the Mariner, and there's the girl, and she's got the jar of dirt, and I'm assuming they make it to dry land at the end. That's all I kind of vaguely remembered. And then we went on an epic 3-hour journey to tell that story.
It's so funny because whenever Waterworld comes up in conversation, which is a funny thing to say out loud, but whenever it does, you I'll bring it up or say like, "Oh, have you seen Waterworld?" And you're like, it's not as bad as people say it is.
If that's
they'll say
your opening statement, that's kind of a problem,
right? But the thing is, people will say, "Well, no, I haven't seen it, but I love the attraction at Universal Studios." That like 9 times out of 10, like that's what happens is people say like, "Oh no, but I've seen that plenty of times. That was a lot of fun."
Yet you don't hear people saying, "Gosh, I haven't seen Raiders of the Lost Ark, but that stunt show in Florida, that is," nobody says that. Nobody says. Everybody loves Raiders more than the stunt show.
Yeah, the stunt show's okay on that one too. But I will say, watching this, I would give anything to see the original screenplay from 1986.
Oh my gosh. Yes, written by Peter Rader.
Yeah, Peter Rader.
Peter Rader. Yeah, Peter Rader. This went through 36 revisions.
Rader, not a good sign, guys. It's not a good sign. No, it's not.
But here's the thing, though, is that like, he wrote it in 86 because Roger Corman originally was going to direct this, and he says
that's a movie I want to see,
right? And he said he was talking with Rader. He says like, if you can come up with a good Mad Max ripoff, literally those were the words he said. If you can come up with a good Mad Max ripoff, I can get, I think it was like a South African investor, something like that. Like I can get a South African investor to make that happen. And he wrote the script, and like some of his friends read it and was just like, this isn't very good. And then like he shelved it for a couple of years. And then in 89, Corman said like, "What do you got?" And he shows it to him, and he's like, "I don't think I can do the script for $5 million or less." Because that's all that he wanted to do.
Oh man,
maybe it's like
it's not
10-minute short.
It's Lake World. You're stuck in the Great Lakes, and that's all we can afford. Oh man, yeah, no, that wouldn't work.
And so he's like, I was like, okay, fine. And so like Rader did 7. I don't know why I just put up 4 of my fingers, but 7 versions himself. And then even while they were in production, friggin' production, Joss Whedon flies in and tries to rewrite and punch up the 3rd act.
Gosh,
how insane is that? And also there's a whole slaver storyline, because you know how they talk about they're like, could be smokers, could be slavers, they do. There was a whole slaver storyline that was cut because the set went underwater.
Right. The slaver set floated away or sank.
It sank. What? 2 things. One, according to legend, Steven Spielberg himself went to Reynolds and Costner and said, "Don't film on open water. I've been there 20 years ago. Don't do this to yourself. It's nothing but trouble."
I think Cameron might have even called them and said, because he had just done The Abyss, and he's like, don't shoot an open water. Like everybody says that.
Well, Reynolds went to Spielberg, and he said, he's like, what? He's like, you did Jaws. Like, what do I do here, man? And that's exactly what he said. He said, he's like, because the Jaws set ballooned to 150 days, and what happened to Waterworld? It ballooned to 157 days.
I also find it so weird. I struggle for the right word, but I find it so weird that a film that is positioned as a warning about, protecting the environment and environmental damage. As I watched the film, all I could do was sit there in the back of my head and say, this film did more damage to the environment than I will in my entire lifetime. It was just baffling to me because I just, wow.
It's like that Armageddon scene when he's on the oil rig
Yes.
and all the protesters are on this massive ship protesting the
Yes.
oil rig. And he's like, do you know how much diesel that tanker uses?
Yep. But I'm like all the explosions and the stuff flying around, and you see set pieces going, and I'm sitting there thinking, wow, there's no way they reclaimed all of that after it hit the water. That's an
they didn't
impossibility.
have like an extra fleet of ships with like skimmer nets and they pull it all back. No,
right.
They just let it float
not
away.
Even that, guys. Like not even like the physical material that was used or left in the water. Not even that, but just the amount of gasoline and diesel and just everything like that. But then again, I think the Hawaiian economy got like a $30 million boost because they were the only people they could get steel from, and people were gouging them like crazy because they were the only business in town that could sell them stuff.
Would you not?
They shot this off the coast of Hawaii?
They shot it in a couple different places, but mainly off the coast of Hawaii, off the Big Island.
We all recognize Hawaii from the end shots of dry land, like that. Like we're about to land in Jurassic Park. We all know that valley. It's very recognizable.
I logistically, this is a film where the one thing I'll give it credit for is being so ambitious, because this is something where I look at it, and especially visiting the Ulysses cut now, I think of the strides made in technology up to this point, and Waterworld happens if it's an idea today. This is a movie where you can just get a tank and you have somebody there and you just do set extensions as far as the eye can see.
Set extensions. It's so freaking easy to do I can do it on my own personal computer and make it look like a $230 million movie.
But even back then, like maybe this is a testament to how it didn't fully hold my attention with the story all the time. But I'm looking at the atoll, and I remember the stories at the time about the atoll was built and they would tow it so that they could get the lighting. They would actually have these things where they would tow it around and everything. And I sit there and I'm thinking from a planning standpoint as like a production manager or something. I think to myself, well, first and foremost, it doesn't need to be on the open water. Secondly, let's say you want to build it. Like I'm sitting there like planning out. I'm like, well, okay, you just go right offshore, you get the right amount of stuff, and you build 3 turrets that look exactly the same, and you get your shots, and it's like, oh, the light changed. Okay, so we'll move over here. And so you can keep filming through the day without having to tow the thing around, and you're not on. But again, that's not what the movie's about. The movie is about the realism. You got to see every cent up there on screen.
I will say that's what I was just gonna say is that you see it all on screen. Like
yes,
but for better or for worse budget, you see every cent. Like you're like. And again, and I think that is, like you're saying, yeah, you could make this movie in a soup can, like nowadays, for like a fraction of the budget. But yeah, there's something about this shot of a bunch of smokers with snorkels and their jet skis are under the water, like they actually did that. This shot of the atoll, like that they're running into, they actually did. Like everything is practical. I mean, except for maybe a handful of model shots with the super tanker, because that was just crazy. But like besides that, it's all real. I mean, just looking at the Mariner's catamaran, like that set piece, you feel the money because it is literally doing the things. It's putting up and down the sail. It's like that thing must have been a bear to maintain and to shoot on and to use.
Well, they had 2. They built 2 of them, and I think they're called trimarans.
Trimaran, yeah.
And they built 2 of them. One that can actually race, like one that was really fast, that they used for wide shots, and then they had one with all the bells and whistles that felt lived in, and
that
was
could like turn into the windmill, like the spinny windmill part. And
I think it's called like an egg thing or something like that. Yeah. And Kevin Costner apparently sailed that for 3 weeks before production so that he could
He knew what he
get
was
used to
doing.
it and like have it feel like a lived-in feel, so he could get used to the rigging and everything like that, which I think is pretty cool. And that's always what, like, I remember when my dad showed me this movie. He started I was sitting next to him and he started hitting me on the shoulder. He's like, "Oh, look at his boat, look at his boat, look at his boat." Like,
It's interesting because all of that stuff is practical, and I agree with you. If you're going to do something practical, build the trimaran, film that on
Yeah.
the open water.
Yeah.
It's the rest of it that you didn't need to do. Like, it's a self-inflicted wound in
Like,
so
you could
many
get a
ways.
giant parking lot, build a brim around it, build the atoll on it, and then flood the parking lot to like a foot of water and dye it, and then you're good. I mean, I
Well-
don't know what that would look like, but I could guess, you know.
But CG by this point is advanced enough. Think of what Cameron did with Titanic. He built the set in the freaking desert and then digitally added the water around it. And
Yeah.
it's advanced enough by that point, and audiences are not as they're not as critical of CG. You know, I mean, even today, I think as some of us are. But overall, back then, if you just subbed in the water, nobody would have cared. Nobody would have really noticed. Nobody's sitting there like looking at in the theater, looking at it. They just want to be transported somewhere else. I mean, it. The thing that's baffling to me about the budget ballooning and all of these sorts of things, and okay, I can see every cent up there, but at the same time, how many productions have we heard about where a studio is sitting there and they see the costs start going exponential, and the bean counter sit there and it's like, nope, pulling the plug, we're done,
yeah.
get out now. Like, somebody, is it just Costner's name that keeps it going? Is that it?
That's a good question.
It has to be, right? Like, it has to be like 22 million of his own money. It has to be, you know, him making handshake deals with multiple production companies. And I think that's the thing, is that like, you're not dealing with the distributors at this point. You're just dealing with production companies. And when you are a producer yourself and you have the kind of weight and juice that Costner does at this time, I think it's kind of the situation of like, oh, well, we just need a little bit more. Okay, that's fine. Well, we just need a little bit more. Okay, but no more after that. Okay, well, we need a little bit more. Well, crap. I mean, if we don't give you more, we're going to waste what we already spent, kind of deal.
True.
So
True.
I feel like it was one of those boiling frog deals.
Yeah, and
Fair.
also like it's such a specialized thing, meaning okay, you're halfway through production and it's like you have that sunk cost of like, okay, well, we've spent a lot of money. Yes, it's going to take more to finish it, but if we stop, it's literally all down the drain. Like there is nothing, like we can't reuse the props or it is pretty much all for this.
Yeah, you can't sell the footage for some other use because it's not generic whatsoever.
No.
So
and
I want to ask you guys, now that we have, this is the second Kevin Reynolds film that we're talking about. And this was actually something that I was looking forward to talking about was, you know, now that we've seen Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, and now that we've seen Waterworld, where do you see Reynolds in this? Because to me, these two films have a very similar visual aesthetic, which is a weird thing to say because, you know, one was in Sherwood Forest, the other one was out in open water, but for like just the overall language of the cinematography, the editing, the filming, the production design, it all felt very practical, very real, very lived in, and the action scenes felt like the energy behind the action scenes felt very similar to me. So John, where do you see Reynolds in this?
I think that there are shots that feel like Robin Hood. There are certain ways the camera is placed like super close to somebody for some distortion in how it looks. When Dennis Hopper talks, the camera sometimes takes he gets sort of that Sheriff of Nottingham treatment in terms of where the camera is placed and those sorts of things. With Hopper, I see a director who's letting his main villain indulge that slightly comedic side, even though he's a monster, and have some of that funny stuff happening. And the actual lighting, when, for instance, he's sitting there and they're fitting the fake eye and everything, you get this vibe again of Sheriff of Nottingham surrounded by his cronies in his little fiefdom. There's very much that sort of vibe. There are other shots where I would struggle to find Reynolds at all. Most likely because he walks off set, but also I think that there are, looking here at the Ulysses cut, there are definitely shots where I look at it and it looks like quasi-finished effects sort of thing. But aside from that, I don't get the sense of Reynolds being a VFX kind of guy. And that might speak to why it's so quote unquote practical, is because this is not, we haven't had the full transition over. Cameron and everybody are and Spielberg and everybody are leading the way with digital effects and everything like that. But he still seems old school enough that his directing style, when you see a composite shot, that's where I really lose him. And when you see, but I mean, Ulysses cut when they're, yeah. Anyway, we'll get to that. So I do see aspects of him, but I really, where I see him most strongly represented is with all of the Dennis Hopper stuff. That's where I feel like Reynolds was there, present, and happy to be doing his job.
That's interesting. Darren, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I feel a lot more connection with the time we spend with Mariner. I feel like compared to Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, like obviously Robin Hood is the main character, but it gets kind of muddled where there's a lot going on. We're learning about Maid Marian. We're learning about the Merry Men. We learn about the Merry Men almost separate from, Robin. And then he kind of gets interjected into that world. And I feel like the ratio of shots and time invested is better balanced in this than in Robin Hood. Like the times we're spending on the trimaran and with Mariner, even the beginning where like he's coming into the atoll, it's like if we spent like half the movie at the atoll learning about all the individual people, like we don't do that. They're just in there enough. We know just enough about this world to keep the plot moving, and then we're back on the trimaran, so I look at how Robin Hood Prince of Thieves was trying to create this new legend of Robin as, basically a war veteran, coming back from the Crusades, and he's interjected, and then it falls into the legend we all know. With this one, I really liked the time we spent with Costner. Like we were joking about like how like, he's a bit of a jerk, but I really feel that. I feel this is a man who has been, ostracized from humanity. This is a man who, I got more of a vibe from the shots and the story that was being told when we were really focusing on Costner about what Waterworld is like. The whole you barter if you see someone on the shoreline. Just how a man's word is a bond to, because there's no cops, there's no justice system, so you have this trading, and so you see Mariner in this world, and he is kind of living like a king, kind of like Robin was, where he's got a really good ship, he's able to get things, he's able to trade well, and kind of this is the day, like the worst day of his life, where it all goes sideways and he loses everything. But I feel like, especially the times when it's just the women on the boat with him, like I like the fact that he is a jerk and he's gruff and he doesn't change for a while. It takes a while for him to really accept them and to uproot his, I'm just going about my day doing what I'm going to do. You are ballast to me. I feel like that was portrayed really well. So I would attribute some of that to Kevin, not Costner, to Reynolds. Whereas again, I see that mirroring in Prince of Thieves, and I think it's done even better. So I feel like he's kind of grown in that as a director. That's how it came like to me. Now, again, I don't know if that is all extra shots added to the Ulysses cut, but even if not, there's still obviously a lot of that. It's not like they took the entire trimaran part out. That wouldn't have worked. But
no, I think with the theatrical cut, it's probably more accurate with what you're saying than the Ulysses cut, because with the Ulysses cut, we actually see more of the atoll population, just a little bit more. Like there's the meeting where they're all together, like at night, and they're all around the table, and they're talking about what to do with the mariner and whatnot.
What
Like,
is
that
this
was not
jazzercise equipment? It's for nefarious torture. I laughed at that because I'm like, we all know what that is, but they have no idea.
It's such a stupid joke,
like a
but it's
thigh
it
master or
makes
something.
it
Yeah.
makes you laugh. Yeah, that wasn't in the theatrical. But you're absolutely right, Darren. Like this moves, and even though like it's a 3-hour version, it still moves. It moves along. I don't feel like there's too much wasted space. There's not too much wasted time, and especially with theatrical cut. Like the theatrical cut really moves along, and that was obviously a business decision because, like, holy crap, we've ballooned our budget to $230 million. We're only going to make half that back. With
How many
theatrical
showings
release
can
anyway.
we get into theaters? That's what it comes down to.
Exactly. It comes down to how many showings can you play in a day. And if they released a 3-hour cut, they would have been, no pun intended, dead in the water, more so than what they were. And so it's a straight business decision. So it's interesting with this film, with the difference between the theatrical and the Ulysses cut, because 40 minutes is a big deal. Like, there's so many times you see a director's cut and they add like 3 F words and they're like, this is my cut. Or, you look at Ridley Scott, the father of the director cut, and you see something like Kingdom of Heaven that has that much time added in, and it's a complete change of film. Like, it's a completely different film. Like Kingdom of Heaven,
Right.
The director's cut is very different. The Ulysses
or
cut,
like The Abyss, where it's the third act is
You have
completely
a-
like
you have a completely different third act. Yeah.
Yeah.
With the Ulysses cut, this, even though it's 40 minutes added, it doesn't feel
it's like here and there.
like
It's just
different
stretching
film.
out. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's just kind of stretching it out. It's making things breathe. It's allowing you to have more character motivation, a little bit more discovery in the characters and their situations, their relationships, but it doesn't ultimately change the film like Kingdom of Heaven or The Abyss. Am I alone in that? Do you guys think that? I know that you've really only had one exposure to Ulysses cut, but what did you think about the differences between theatrical and Ulysses, if you can speak on it?
There are things I distinctly remember theatrical, and there are things that I picked up on as extended. I don't think that there's any big moment where I'm sitting there saying, can we please move this along with the Ulysses cut? No, I will give you that point. The only thing that sort of dragged from my perspective was the exploration of the city underwater, where I don't know whether that was a Ulysses cut special or whether my memory tells me that was, man, okay.
That was theatrical.
I probably disliked it in the theatrical as well. It's been long enough.
I have to admit, I love that section because I think it's a great exploration of a post-apocalyptic film.
Storytelling.
It's great visual storytelling. It's really cool to, like, when he puts his hand in the sand and then like lets it drop in the water. That's him saying, "This is where I get my dirt. This is all you're gonna get of dry land." Like, I love that visual. I love everything about it. But you were absolutely right. It halts the movie dead.
I think at the very least, though, if I were to give it a positive, it hints that it's not just the polar ice caps melting that caused everything, that like maybe the land was wrecked in a nuclear war, the typical sort of thing.
It has to be something else, because like when like the opening announcer says the polar ice caps have melted, which we get that great visual of the Universal logo turning into the polar ice caps melting. That's an all-timer. That's one for the ages. The water level would raise a couple hundred feet, which is disastrous, but not civilization ending disastrous.
Yes, it's disastrous, and Lex Luthor can sell, Otisburg.
Yeah.
But
I mean, this literally was what happened in that Deep Space Nine episode where they're on the holodeck and like Avery Brooks is playing the bad villain, and it melts. It causes the sea level to rise enough that literally all that's left is an island of Everest. And it's like, but that would never happen. Like, that wouldn't happen.
And I think like they asked the screenwriter, you're like, did you did you know about this? He's like, oh yeah, I knew about it. He's like, so what? He's like, why did you do this? He's like, this is interesting. This is more interesting this way.
Right.
Yeah, it's like there's many dry lands in particular places on this island, but we don't know
Like,
where they are. It's
the
like,
Midwest is totally cool. But John, you're right. There like has to be something else there. And I think
Yeah.
behind the scenes material put the year as 2,500.
yeah, which I'm kind of glad was not in the opening, because I just read that
Yes.
and I was like, that breaks it for me, because there's no way society and memory and culture and everything that we see in this would survive several hundred years. There's no way without a land-based infrastructure. It's like this must have happened within one, maybe two generations at most.
If they had look, I mean, now we're in rewriting territory, but like you could alleviate that by saying like, you know, it happened in such a way, because they say there were a lot more atolls and stuff like that. You could say, oh well, you know, maybe the original atolls had the skyscraper tops and stuff like that. Blah blah blah. But
It just
whatever,
kept happening. Yeah, that's true.
Right. But you know, while it doesn't, while the 3 hours doesn't hurt, it doesn't help. If that makes sense.
Okay.
This is a movie where, honestly, I think it could be less than 2 hours with a judicious cut and still function pretty well and just get to the point and move fast. For example, you know, Dennis Hopper slowly driving the car through the tanker to make a point, all of that sort of stuff. But yeah, I mean, I guess it's sort of a push is what I'm saying. Like, I don't think that there is a perfect cut of this movie in existence. And so I might as well see more of it just so that I can give it as fair a shake as possible.
That's funny, because I think I watched the Flash movie not too long ago, and there is a good movie in there. If you find a good editor, a brave editor who can say, screw you, DC, screw you, director, screw you, everybody else. And like, there's something in there that can be carved away, that can be chiseled away to be a good movie. This is not one of those.
Yeah.
I totally understand what you're saying, John. I totally understand what you're saying, because to harken back to Kingdom of Heaven, like, I will never watch the theatrical cut again of Kingdom of Heaven. I will only ever watch the director's cut. Like, that is the movie. That's there. With Waterworld, the theatrical, I get the same feeling with the theatrical cut that I do with the Ulysses cut. No, I really like the movie. I really like it, and I have a good time watching it. I rewatch it a lot. And I choose the Ulysses cut because I like it and I want more of it. But the feeling that I get from both. So I totally, absolutely understand what you're saying in that regard. Now, we've talked a lot about the behind the scenes, about the production value, about the pacing and the story itself. We haven't really talked about the performances. Now, we talked about Kevin Costner not showing up for Robin Hood. With this film, we talked about all the crap that was going on behind the scenes and in his personal life. Darren, do you feel like Kevin Costner showed up for Mariner? Do you think he portrayed him in the best possible light? What do you think? What do you think of Costner's performance here?
I mean, it is kind of an apples and oranges thing, because one is the well-known legend of Robin Hood and the other is Waterworld. So you can kind of do whatever you need to tell this story, you know, and I would have no idea. Like I've said before, though, I really liked all the segments with him that were at the time. I think every moment spent with Costner is a moment well invested, when he's really showing us what, like, his motivation for why he's acting like he's acting. Like, I never feel like, oh man, he should be nicer. Oh, like, why doesn't he help them sooner? It's like, no, he has to get there, because it is a Mad Max, you know, on the water. The strong survive, and you really have to, you know, they are dead weight ballast to him at the very beginning. Like, I could really see him be like, yeah, I'm just going to toss you in the water. I'm like, yeah, that might actually be a good idea, because when you're literally counting drops of water to survive, like, they are in a survival mode. But no, I think he did a great job. if I had to compare it to Robin Hood, I think he's bringing it more. It's definitely a more with less as far as speaking. Like the Mariner is the kind of character that his looking at you or what he does or doesn't say is way more impactful than, like the kid talks more than he does probably in this entire movie. Like she's probably got more lines of dialogue, but that's not bad. Like he needs to be that, it's like Mad Max again. Mad Max isn't chattering off at the mouth through his movie. He is speaking exactly when he needs to get you to do what you need to do so you don't die. And the Mariner is very much the same. Even when he softens at the end and he's going back for the girl and all that. So yeah, I think Kevin brought it.
John, I want to hear your take on Dennis Hopper as Deacon.
I love him.
Okay,
yeah.
good. I'm good. I'm glad I'm talking to you because I see
you copied his hairstyle. It's great.
Hey, a good style's a good style. Come on, man. You gotta.
Some people might see this as a mustache twirler, but I feel like, and Darren, you talked about this. Like, this is very much in the vein of Nottingham. This is Alan Rickman chewing up the scenery and all of us loving it because of it. Did Dennis Hopper find that balance? Was it over the top? Was it, what was it to you like when you saw this?
It was over the top, and it was what the film needed. This film needed a really magnetic bad guy. A guy that you can boo and hiss at, but at the same time chuckle at, because he's a fanatic. And I think it's so important to have a very clear distinction drawn between the two societies we encounter. You have the people in the atoll, and yes, they're frightened and they're hungry and they're not awesome people, but they're not necessarily awful people. You understand why they're so afraid of outsiders and all of that sort of thing. And then you have that just over the top bravado type of thing that really, it's clumsily in place just to serve as the metaphor for these are the descendants of the men who destroyed the world sort of thing. But at the same time, it's just fun to watch him because he's not an evil villain in the sense that he knows he shouldn't be this way. He's an evil villain because he's incapable of seeing the world differently. And that makes him not at all pitiable or sympathetic. And it doesn't make you want to try to understand him. You just understand he's a hopeless case. There's nothing you can do to save this guy. And so you're just along for the ride. The only moment that I really hate with him in the entire film is nobody knows the name of the captain of the Exxon Valdez anymore. But it's featured very, very prominently in this. That's St. Joe that he's talking to. That's the captain of the Exxon Valdez, which was an oil tanker, which spilled a ton of oil because he was drunk. Futurama had a great episode referencing this, but he was drunk.
10,001 holes.
Yes. Oh, those fools. But so he's featured very prominently. That is a completely lost reference. In the 90s, everybody is uncomfortably going, oh yeah, Exxon Valdez. And it's just a joke that doesn't land, that doesn't age at all, because he talks to the painting. I think. Do you know he's talking to the captain of the Exxon Valdez?
Yeah. I knew.
No, but like
it was the Exxon Valdez. Yeah.
In the film, though, does it come across at all who that is?
Yeah, because they show you. Like no, at the very when it's sinking, it says Exxon Valdez on the
I understand that part, but in terms of a cultural reference, you have to be of a certain age to even understand what the Exxon Valdez was. If I showed this movie to my kids, that's 10 minutes of not 10 minutes. It's extra explanation at the end of the movie saying, okay, well, the reason it's called the Exxon Valdez is because it was a tanker that ran aground in Alaska, and that guy was such and such and such. I think it's too specific a joke.
So, okay. I guess I can understand where that's coming from because I guess it's not a timeless joke, but at the time, I mean, I guess it's like making a Clinton and Lewinsky reference now kind of thing where like at the time it was all over the news. It was a big deal, like you knew that the captain was drunk and the Exxon Valdez was like when you hear Exxon Valdez, oil spill. I feel like even today, you would know that. Like, you may maybe not recognize that, you may not know the name of the captain, but like when you see the picture on the ship, you're just like, oh, that must have been the captain, even if you don't know.
Look, I,
What I'm
this
saying is
isn't.
that's a weird criticism, is what I'm saying.
And I'm saying it's not a weird criticism because you got to it precisely right there. And I said the exact same thing. You have to be of a certain age to get the joke. And as a result, it's just sort of there. And I think it's such a weird thing. I think that whoever he's referring to in that moment should have been somebody more perpetually recognizable as a captain of industry. Somebody that we would all say, oh, well, yeah, the invention of that undoubtedly led to X, Y, and Z or something like that. That's all I'm saying. And that's just, hate me if you want to. But
It'd
there
be
you
like
go.
a movie made nowadays about like the Exxon, or not the Exxon, the Ever Given, that ship that got stuck in the Suez Canal and like backed up traffic for like
Yes.
months. Like it'd be like that, like in some similar way where like they're trying to get through a pass and, oh, there's a ship stuck here. What is it? Oh, it's the Ever Given. Like we would laugh at that because we remember it. It just happened a few years ago. But I get what you're saying, John.
30
like that
years
age,
from now. Yeah.
that age, that joke was almost made to age. Like there's no way people are going to remember that forever. But if you look it up, then yeah, it makes sense. But
See, Tristan, work with me a little bit, right? Okay, Darren and me, we understand each other.
Man.
Jeez.
Maybe.
And if you're gonna name the ship, it has to be the Exxonville. Like if you're gonna give the ship a name, you have to. That is a perfect name for it. Like
sure,
it's the most synonymous oil tanker.
Well, see, the thing is, for me, like that's the thing is that like if I was making that joke today, I would call the Exxon Valdez probably because of this movie. So I may have a hard time separating it.
That's entirely possible too. But I'm not going to attack you over it. It's fine. It's fine.
I'll attack you. I want to talk about Enola because I really like. I don't know if it's Majorino or Majorino. Tina Majorino.
I'm pretty sure it's Majorino.
Okay. I loved her portrayal as Enola. She was precocious. She was fun. She was articulate. She was great. I normally don't like children in movies, but I loved Enola, and I loved how she loved art, and I loved that she kept drawing all over his boat, and every once in a while he would find it and just lose his mind. And originally that was going to go to Anna Paquin, which I'm a big fan of Anna Paquin, especially when she was a kid. I liked her stuff. Fly Away Home was a great movie about geese. But this one, I'm glad that it didn't go to her because I feel like Enola had I feel like Anna Paquin would have given more anger and ferocity to the role, but Enola I think gives a little bit more of that childlike innocence that is so endearing. And one thing that I love about the tattoo is that it actually gives the exact coordinates to Mount Everest. So even if you didn't see the Ulysses cut, if you were a nerd and looked up what those symbols meant, it would say that dry land was Mount Everest, which I think is cool.
I think that Majorino, I agree with you. Great casting, great screen presence, really, really just a terrific performance for, I mean, she's a young girl on a troubled production. You got to imagine this was not a happy set to be on.
Stung by a jellyfish 3 times.
Oof, that sucks. But she's really good. And I agree with you. I think that she is one of the brightest points of this movie. I will also say that there's a movie that came out the year prior called Karina, which co-stars Whoopi Goldberg and Ray Liotta. She is good. Absolutely delightful in that. I love that film so much, and it's all because of her.
I have a soft spot for that movie because of her. And it's funny because when I was in college and Napoleon Dynamite came out, I was just like, hey, look, it's Enola. She's gonna take us to dry land. And also there's Jean Triplehorn, which I feel like Jean Triplehorn is not in the conversation enough. Maybe she was so huge in the 90s. I mean,
yes, she was.
She was in Basic Instinct. She was in The Firm. She was in this. She was in Sliding Doors. She was in she's been in a lot of TV lately, but I just what like I know I'm gonna date myself here, but she was in Mickey Blue Eyes. Um, Reality Bites. Like yes, I've always really everything she's been in. I've really enjoyed. Like I think modern audiences would probably recognize her from Big Love, the HBO show. She
Oh
was
yeah.
prominent in that. I've always really enjoyed her. I've always really liked her, and I just feel like she had so much emotional weight in this film. She made us care about the Mariner. She made us care about Enola. I feel like she was almost like an audience surrogate, where when she was trying to
Mm-hmm.
figure everything out, she was trying to make Mariner understand. She was trying to make Enola understand. Like she was a peacekeeper, not just on Mariner's boat, but also on the atoll. I just feel like she gets a lot of the work done and none of the credit.
I think she is good. I think that everything you're saying is accurate. My weird thing for her is that they didn't let her be dirty enough in the movie. Her
Like
and what I
like physically dirty, like she was too clean,
yes.
like her and Enola were too clean.
Yes. Well, even Enola, like they still, mussed her up and stuff like that. But Jean Triplehorn, I get it. She's the leading lady and everything like that. But her teeth and her face weren't dirty enough. But that's a production thing. That's somebody behind the camera should have taken care of that sort of thing.
That's never crossed my mind, but I've actually thought about this. I can't remember why. I just the past couple days I started thinking about this, like with teeth. Like when you watch movies that are supposed to take place in older, like Egyptian times or even
Oh
Revolutionary
yes.
Day times and everything like that, and they have perfect teeth. Honestly, I'd rather them have normal teeth than the opposite, because if you watch John Adams, the HBO miniseries, they have very accurate teeth, and you see John Adams played by Paul Giamatti, and his teeth get worse and worse and worse as he gets older, and it is super distracting. Like when we are just not used to it as an audience. It's almost, I equate it almost to frame rate. Like when you watch anything outside of 24 frames per second, you're like, this is weird. I don't like this. I can't focus on anything else. That's how I feel with bad teeth.
Well, even if you leave her teeth alone, like there's stuff you can do to the fingernails and the creases on, and like give her lines on her face and stuff like that. I mean, if anything, even the makeup on Costner is far from perfect. There, they try to give him a little sunburn stuff, and it's like it looks like they drew it on his face, sort of things.
It really does. Like his smile lines on the side.
Oh yes,
look drawn on.
Yes, but they could, and I think should have made more of an effort to make her look like she hadn't bathed in a while. She just looks too
considering all the smokers,
pristine.
Like, they're pitch perfect. Like they look like
Yes.
they're living in this apocalyptic, and even a lot of the other atollers, like, but
Yes.
she's the, like you said, she's
the leading lady,
so she has to be beautiful.
Yeah, it's sort of like old school thinking. It's like, I think if this movie were made today, they'd make more of an effort.
Yeah, well,
I don't know,
nowadays,
man.
nowadays though, like think of like Furiosa. Like Furiosa is the leading lady, but she's got like grease paint on like half her face for the majority of it, and the super chopped hair. Like but it works.
That's a very different role, though. Like Charlize Theron in Fury Road as Furiosa is very different than the kind of like the pseudo helpless Helen.
Oh yeah,
but that's true. And I'm glad we touched on Fury Road, because inspired by Road Warrior and all of that type of stuff. But just as a quick point, the knife's edge that Fury Road itself was on in terms of troubled production behind the scenes, that could have gone very Waterworld, and they're lucky they didn't.
That's true.
Because the two leads hated each other by the end of that production. Everybody was in over their head. Everything. It is a miracle that Fury Road did not end up a disaster. And as we talk about the behind the scenes stuff, Triplehorn is great. Majorino is great. I love Hopper in this. It's amazing that this is such a troubled production, but there are still performances that are enjoyable here, where you can say, hey, it's not a total loss. Like, it's a testament to professionalism that you don't read it on these people's faces, that most likely by the end of it, they were just, they were probably like, I don't even care if I get paid. Just let me go home. Just let me leave and go home. I'm done. I can't be here anymore. Like, can you imagine being crew on this?
Oh,
And
it
like,
must have been.
Oh my
you're the
gosh.
cameraman that's on one of the pieces of the trimaran, and okay, we're going to get this shot. We're going to shoot this until we get it, no matter how many days it takes. Can you imagine waking up in the morning and going, "Oh no, I have to do this again"? Like, that's going to be awful.
Multiple people almost died filming this. It's a miracle that no one died, because Costner almost died, Triple Horn and Majorino almost died on the first day. Multiple stunt doubles almost died. And it's from being strapped or dragged by a boat. And it's just like, that's the dangers that they have in being in the open water and doing stuff like this. And it's sad that it happens, and I'm glad that nothing worse happened. But I think the Kevin Costner stunt double commuted by jet ski every morning to get to the production and the atoll and everything like that. So, all right, so we're at 56 minutes, almost 57. I want to talk about a positive before we go into the rating. When you think this movie, what do you think? Like, what's a moment that pops into your head, Darren? What's a moment that pops into your head positively when you think about this film? When you're just like, yeah, we talked about all the production craziness, all the bad press and all the PR of people almost dying, and Costner going through a divorce and everything like that. But we did talk about good things. We talked about bad things. What's a positive when you see Waterworld that pops in your brain when you think about it? You're like, yeah, that happened, and I like that.
I mean, it's a little broad stroke, but this movie does action really well. It is a good action movie. Like the set, like the explosions, the music, like you feel hyped when stuff is happening on the screen. Like it is, I mean, again, I'll bring back the stunt show. I've watched the stunt show. It feels like a stunt show. Like you're watching it in the movie. They're mix and match at this point. So the I'd say not every set piece is the grand finale or anything, but I always liked the trading outpost scene where they're lying in wait, because I don't see it coming. Like they hide it so well, because they're drifting up and they're like, oh, we're going to trade for resin, and oh look, they're waving, and then I'm like, wait, they're not waving, and I thought it was that they had like a little sail or something that was attached to their hand, and that's what was making them wave. Not that they were physically on the, I guess the atoll, the outpost, whatever. And it turns out they're actually there. But then when it cuts to the jet skis underwater with the snorkel lines, and I'm like, oh man, yeah, action's so good. I will also say Hopper, or the Deacon, is a smart villain. And I love a smart villain. Like, he's not a perfect villain. Like, he makes mistakes, obviously. He's just a person. But overall, he doesn't make giant, stupid mistakes. Like, oh, I'm going to kill all my lieutenants, or say something stupid in front of them. They're all going to uprise. Like, no, none of that happens. Like, he, legitimately, he almost gets away with it. Like, he knows how to control his crew. He knows how to manage his resources. He knows how to lay traps. He knows how to, like, the only thing that's really threatening him is the fact that he's done it so well that he's wiped out all the atolls, and so there's almost none left. And that's why he's kind of like in a pinch. But I love a smart villain who doesn't make giant, stupid mistakes.
And he has so many great one-liners too. Like, I often think about it, he's just like, always like, oh, how touching, a single tear rolls down my cheek. All right, John, what about you?
I would say that the thing that I will always remember is going all the way back to seeing it in the theater. The biggest laugh line of the entire thing is the flame approaches, the guy is floating on the oil, and he looks up and he goes, oh, thank God. And then the big explosion. I remember the theater erupting in laughter at that moment. That is a perfect moment. Like everything else, you look at that and you go, okay, that was really slick. And obviously, I love Hopper and Triple Horn, Majorino. Costner, I struggle a little bit with because I'm not sure in some scenes if he's trying to do an accent of some sort or not, or just tired. But yeah, I mean, I think the smoker stuff is just a lot of fun, and especially that moment.
Did you guys notice that Jack Black was a smoker?
No, but I saw it
Not
on
until
Wikipedia.
after. Yeah.
Yeah, saw it on Wikipedia, and I was like,
they
huh.
all like look the same. They're just guys with beards and grease and goggles. Like anybody could be
Jack
any of
Black,
those characters.
right there.
Well,
There you go.
that's true.
Yeah, that describes Jack Black.
He looks like
Yeah.
Jack
Right.
Black nowadays,
Yeah.
John, I want you to go right in to into your rating, and I want you to be as honest as possible.
2.5 stars.
2.5. Okay,
An affectionate 2.5.
I totally get that.
So the
Totally
same as
respect it.
Robin Hood. That's
Robin
the
Hood.
exact same.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, Darren.
Gosh, I'm gonna give it a 3. It's a 4 action movie, but it's a 3 overall. Like I actually really enjoyed watching this. Like it didn't, like you said, it didn't really lag. I mean, there's that one, I don't know what that was happening in the editing, but like when they're kind of becoming a couple and there's like, he's like, I want you to choose me. I didn't want you before. And then they like go down below and then it comes back up and you see like the exact same shots that led up to that scene again. And you can tell they were kind of like trying to insert that scene. That was the roughest cut I saw in the whole thing. I was like, okay, something was happening here and they didn't quite have the footage to pull it off, but we're just going to move past that. And, but yeah, I mean, gosh, action sequences just nailed. A great villain. Not even like you guys said, I didn't feel the length. I didn't feel like, oh man, I could have ate 5 bags of popcorn by this time, because we're finally getting to dry land at the end. But and yeah, it's I think if you had less time to watch, you just pop in the theatrical and you're gonna get basically the same thing, the same brushstrokes. And yeah, so overall it's kind of just a sad tale of that it did so poorly, and that in 96 and with a slightly different, like how much things had changed by then, you have, I don't know, like history could have made this a hit. It could have easily, the dice could have gone a different way if like the way they're filming it or budget or whatever, but it just, the dominoes fell how they fell. And now, like they even said with the press, like it's just synonymous with, you say Waterworld and everyone's like, oh, the biggest flop of all time, which isn't necessarily true.
Yeah.
It's almost apocryphal at this point. But yeah, so I'm going to give it a solid 3. So he's down a little bit from Robin Hood, but we'll see where we go next week. What about you, Tristan, with your
Darren,
pull off those glasses? Pull off those glasses.
That's the thing. I don't think I can. Did I give Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves a 3.5?
3.5. Yes, you did.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. I can't give this the same rating as Prince of Thieves, even though like this was a huge hit, and people loved it. I enjoy Waterworld way more than Prince of Thieves. I've rewatched it many more times, and I know this is a ridiculous rating. I know that, John. I know that, but I'm giving this 4 stars.
Oh my God!
Because
thank God. I thought you were going to give it a 5, and we were going to have problems.
no, I give this a 4 stars with full recognition that I have so much nostalgia, attached to it. I have memories of watching this with my dad and loving watching and sharing it with my dad. And when I pop it in and watch it, I just smile. Like I laugh so hard when he throws the harpoon at the redheaded guy who steals his boots. And he just puts his fingers up like, I almost got you. I was this close to getting you. I laugh hysterically. I love that moment. And there's so many moments in this. And there's so many positives to me that outweigh the negatives. And the Ulysses cut just maximizes that to me. Where I feel like the theatrical might be a 3 or a 3.5 to me, but the Ulysses is a 4 just because I feel like it fleshes out so much. And I recognize that this may not be an accurate rating or even a realistic one, but that's the one I'm giving it. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So everyone, thank you so much for listening. Please go to thenerdparty.com for all of our previous episodes. Go to Twitter at Join Nerd Party. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We're all over the place, and we're trying to give you, quality entertainment every single day of the week. So make sure to check us out, and please hit subscribe so that you can hear us next week as we talk about another Kevin Reynolds film, The Count of Monte Cristo, here
Great sandwich.
on Houselights.
Join the revolution. Join the Nerd Party.